Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So as part of our Bangla Khodu growing series, we're going to do a short video today on how to care for these Bangla Khodus as they're growing, how to water and how to look after them while they're in the house before we plant them out in the garden. So keep watching and I'll show you what I'm doing. When you're watering these Bangla Khodus, the way to water them is never to soak them, because if they get soaked then overnight the temperature drops. What's called dampening off can happen. These plants are very susceptible to dampening off. So what I do is I only water enough to keep the soil damp. So it's not a huge amount of water that I'm giving it. And I'll let that drain off. The way I water them is I wait for the pot to dry out and the pot actually feels light, and then I'll add a small amount of water so it just increases in weight. So I want the pot to feel like it's increased in weight a little bit, but I don't want it to feel heavy, like it's completely full. So I'll let that drain off and I won't water it again until it feels dry again and the pot feels light. As these Khodus are getting quite large for the pots that they're in, we're going to repot these and move these into bigger pots. At the moment it's really difficult to get hold of plant pots from the supermarkets. I've got some plant pots here that we used last year, but these aren't going to be enough plant pots for me to pot all my Khudus up and my cucumbers up. So I've made some DIY plant pots, and all I've done is I've taken some milk bottles and I've cut them in half, put some holes in the bottom, and I'm going to plant into these. You compare the size of a 2 litre milk bottle and a plant pot. They're not too dissimilar, so we should get away with these. And it's a good way of recycling as well. Can you stop being a monkey? These are the gourd plants that you saw in the last two videos. So you followed the progress of these plants from seed all the way to planting those sprouts into their individual pots. Now I'm going to pot these up into bigger pots. We'll carry on the process all the way till they're mature and they're ready to plant out into the garden. So I'm going to take these pots. Look at the root system that they've developed now by themselves. It looks really nice. And I'm just going to take my improvised plant pot, pop him in there and fill up all the way around him. There we go, that's one. So, alhamdulillah. That's it. Once that gets the water, it'll all settle the soil down anyway, so it'll be fine with that. And all these plant pots that we're emptying out, I've got some cucumbers to separate, so all these plant pots are going straight back into use. See, I used 6 milk bottles and I've got 6 plant pots. That saved me £1. Excuse me. And the ones in these large pots, yeah, I won't need to pot these up again. Next time I'm doing anything with these is they'll go straight out into the garden. At the moment I'm not feeding these plants with anything. I'm not giving them a feed, because I don't want them to get too out of control while they're in the house. Because as soon as I feed them, if I feed them with anything, especially with a nitrogen feed, they're just going to go crazy. They'll send out runners everywhere. Yeah, they'll send out vines everywhere, they'll start shooting up. and I won't be able to control it in the house. I just haven't got the space. Hopefully, if we get a decent season this year, I want a record-breaking year. Yeah, do you want a record-breaking year as well? Zaki? Yeah. Yeah. Good lad. See, look at the root ball on some of these. They look absolutely beautiful. So these gourds, I know a lot of people in the West want to grow these gourds to try, because they make good ornaments and things like that. But these are such a staple diet in Bangladeshi cuisine, and they're really expensive to buy once you get them, from grocery shops in this country, because of the shipping costs. So if you can grow your own, you're not only getting that connection with your roots, but also you're saving a packet. These are my cucumbers. They're a Bangladeshi variety of cucumber. They're almost the size of gherkins, but they're for eating fresh. And you can buy these from the bazaars over there, and you just get them fresh. Careful! No! Don't get them! Don't get them! Here! I'll give you one. Here! There you go. So my son's had to be removed. He was getting a bit excited. He nearly destroyed a couple of plants then. But like all cucumbers, they do need warmth, and they are quite fussy, these plants. In terms of these are another one that's susceptible quite a lot to damping off. They do sulk quite a bit. I'm just wondering where I'm going to find all the space for all of these. That's a good idea. These two are too close together to try and pull apart, so I'm not going to bother with them. I'm just going to leave them as they are. So we got some chrysanthemums in that pot last year, a couple of years ago, and this pot is still on our property, serving, we're still using them. It says pink kisses on the side of them, but now they're being used to grow cucumbers and khudus. So we're going to separate a couple of chilies as well while we're here. Go on. Bit more soil in there. Bit more. Okay. I'll hold the pot. I'll hold the plant for you. So make a hole like that for you for the roots. Drop the roots in. Then I'll hold the plant. You fill it with soil. It's easier if you put the pot down. No, not on the plant. Now just squeeze the soil around. Yeah, that's it. Press it in all the way. Straighten him up. That's it. Just firm it in. No, just be careful when you add it. You want them in that centre. There you go. Yeah? Is that good? So that could be it. That's another one of your chilli plants. Do you want to go get your other chilli plant and show them? So we use these paper cups quite a bit, and it saves on using, because I've seen people using the plastic cups, but these paper cups can last a couple of seasons if you look after them, and if they don't, they can be composted quite easily. So there we go. That's it. 2 chilies planted up and they can go into the grow cupboard. And this is all homemade compost. I'm quite lucky because I make all my own compost. So there's the plant that she planted up a few weeks ago. So see how the roots are coming up there? Sprinkle a bit of soil over the top of that. Bring your bowl over. That's it.
Troublemakers here.
I'm quite lucky I make all my own compost at home. And I know there's a crisis on at the minute where people are struggling to find compost. So what I'm going to do is keep an eye out for a video that'll come shortly that shows you how you can make the best or make the most of the compost that you have, how you can make it go that little bit further, and if you haven't got any access to any compost at all, what you can use instead. So what I've got here is a Bangladeshi uri or a hyacinth bean, and now these are starting to shoot up to the sky, and they're going to start within the next few weeks. They'll get to a point where I can't control them in the house, and I've got at least another month of these being in the house before, maybe 3 weeks before I can move them to the greenhouse. So what I'm going to do to keep these under control is I'm going to prune them, and I'm going to be quite brutal. The way to cut them is you've got the start of the vine there, one node there, one node there, so one up there, but it's getting too long for us, isn't it? So I want you to cut him right there.
There.
Yeah. Make it a nice clean cut. The top can all come off. What it'll do is it'll encourage it to send out some side shoots, and those side shoots will be hopefully a lot stronger than these, and by the time they're sending those side shoots out and they're getting established, I'll be ready to plant these out into the garden. So that's my little trick in keeping these under control while they're in the house so they don't get too big. Last year when I planted them out, I ended up, because these can be quite brittle, I ended up snapping quite a few of these. So that's one of the measures that we're taking this year to prevent that. These are some of my hyacinth beans, and these are some of my Bangladeshi Khodus, and that's how we keep constantly potting them up, moving them into bigger pots, how we water them, and the next thing that we're going to be doing with these is we'll be planting them out into the garden. So I'll leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.